Hey guys, today we're going to review the Aussie Yen's daily bias and moreover cover how I'm going to trade the Pound Yen weekly bias. Okay, so start the Aussie Yen. Okay, this is the daily chart. Let me run you by the setup I was looking at. So the last daily short trade that formed was right here. And then right after that, a daily long trade formed. And so the daily risk parameters were between this pivot high and this pivot low right here. And moreover, the initial analysis was stating that this bias is long, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. However, I was waiting for lower confirmations to confirm this bias, and as price ranged about and came down to these levels, if you recall in my communities tab, I was mentioning there was a new daily long trade that formed right here. And so at this point, the bias parameters changed from this pivot high to this pivot low. And moreover still, this new initial bias was still stating that this bias was long. However, now price was likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. Okay, so even as price pulled back close to this stop loss level several times, there was no lower confirmation on the 4, 1 hour, or even lower time frames like the 15 and 5 minute chart. So this setup was really untradeable. And so I could not enter this long entry. And just the other day, price went to its main target without making lower confirmations. Okay, so this bias is reset at this point. And when there's a new bias that forms on this pair, I'll keep you guys updated. All right, so let's go on to the Pound Yen. Okay, and if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about in terms of my strategy, please check out my price action trading course. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the setup I'm looking at. So the last weekly long trade that formed was right here. And the last weekly short trade that formed was right here. So the weekly bias parameters is between this pivot high and this pivot low right here. And moreover, as price came down to these areas right here, if you recall, right in this area, there was daily lower confirmation confirming that this bias is short. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. And then moreover, on my communities tab, I was mentioning there was an aggressive entry setup that formed in these areas right here. However, I aborted this short entry right away due to a V-shaped recovery on the 1 minute chart, showing a lot of strength long. And we got this nice move all the way up to these levels. Okay, and like I mentioned on my midweek analysis, although the aggressive short entry did fail, this weekly bias is still short in my opinion. So let me go ahead and show you how I'm going to trade this setup. Let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so again on this 1 hour chart, those weekly risk parameters is between this pivot high right here and this pivot low right here. And if you recall from last week, right at this point right here, there's a nice V-shaped recovery that formed, giving this nice move up all the way up to these levels right here. Now essentially I'm willing to take a normal bias entry with a stop loss at this pivot high and its main target right here. So I'm thinking if I could get about 100 pip to 150 pip pull back roughly in these areas right here, I'm willing to take a short entry. Again with a stop loss right here and its main target right here. Okay, but like always, as price pulls back to my short entry point, I'm always looking for any current long strength that forms, in which case that forms, I will not take this short entry. Okay, and the reason why I'm still willing to take a short entry is because although there was a V-shaped recovery, in all these areas right here, there was no concrete signs of current long strength on the lower time frames. Okay, so we'll just see what happens with this setup and I'll keep you guys updated. And that's it for this weekly analysis. I hope you guys have a great week, guys. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.